Imagine you go on a date with someone and they're like, sorry, you didn't get a 1600 on the SAT. Welcome to Wow of True, the podcast of your wildest memes.
We're your one-stop internet culture shop here to dissect what's going viral, why we care, and how this might affect our real human lives. I've got kind of a sore throat, so this is not going to be a great audio experience from my end. Isabel.
And I'm Amanda, and I've had one cavity in my life. Anyone could be famous on the internet, so why not us?
Which tooth did you have a cavity in?
It was like toward the back. It was when I was in like 5th grade, and I cried a lot about it. My dental history is relevant to this episode because we're talking about mouth biohacking, which is a thing. These are words.
These are not words that should go together, you know?
Yeah. I started scripting this episode on like Monday morning, and Monday afternoon I had a dentist appointment, and I wrote, I'm Amanda and I've had one cavity in my life, and I was like, I need to delete that. I'm going to go to the dentist later, my Wolf Kaminsky the dentist, and if I get a cavity, it's because I wrote that. But no cavities, normal dentist experience, W.
I'm very proud of you. Hey, do you ever go to the dentist and they are like, you need to floss more? And then for the next 6 months, you do spend that time flossing, but they're still like, you need to floss more, so then you give up on the whole situation. I mean, I do floss, I just don't floss like to the extent I think my dentist wants me to floss, but when I try to do that, I get no validation for it, so I don't try that hard anymore. There was no point to the story.
Yeah, they should really incentivize you to floss, especially since your mom sends you really fancy floss, as we've established in previous episode lore.
Right now I've been flossing with dark chocolate flavored floss.
Huh.
It's not good.
I flossed with mint floss from CVS. This hashtag not sponsored.
You know, if CVS wants to sponsor us, they should do it. Anyway, okay, mouth biohacking.
You know how some people get a lot of cavities, and some people, like me, are built different? What if you could change bacteria in your mouth and then be like me, a person who has a beautiful mouth? I'm sorry, I can't say this.
Yeah, no, keep going. I want to see where you're going with the mouth thing. I have also had 2 cavities in my life, so, you know, you're beating me here. Yeah, tell me more about your beautiful mouth.
No, I mean, it is a thing where, like I've noticed that in my family, at least, my dad and I both have only had one cavity in our lives. My dad had his when he was, like, 60, so he had a long run. And then my brother and my mom have had, like, terrible dental issues. And it's, like, very random, and it feels like I don't think any of us have particularly different dental habits than one another. The reason we're talking about this, let me just read you a quote from the blog of Matt Mullenweg, the CEO of Automatic, which is the company that owns Tumblr and WordPress, notably for podcast purposes, Tumblr. I'm not one to shy away from random things I find on the internet. Same, Matt. So when I came across the Scott Alexander article on a discovery in the 80s about people who don't get cavities, my first thought was, how far is Honduras from Houston? So on February 28th, my friend Renee and I became the 50th and 51st people to get our normal mouth bacteria scrubbed away and hopefully replaced by a genetically modified strain of Streptococcus mutans that doesn't turn sugar into lactic acid. A nice sabbatical jaunt.
They took a vacation to get new mouth bacteria.
Yes, and it gets so much worse. But so the thing, first question here is like, what? Why are we biohacking our mouths? Like, is this a legit thing, or is this like a crazy rich people thing?
Yeah, right. Like, is this a vampire facial, or is this something?
Basically, my morning has been, it's 10:28 a.m. right now. I woke up at 7, not on purpose. I'm just cursed. And basically have spent the last 3 hours, like, researching mouth bacteria and also playing Zelda while listening to podcasts that are going to mess my algorithms because they're like tech accelerationism rationalist podcasts. I've had a morning. But what I learned is that Streptococcus mutans is a bacteria that contributes to tooth decay, and Lumina, which is the product that Matt Mullenweg had applied to his teeth, is a genetically modified strain of S. mutans that does like 4 specific things, which I'm not going to get into the medical details because It's kind of boring, and I'm not a doctor. I didn't even take AP Bio in high school, you know? The bacteria that converts sugar into lactic acid, like the lactic acid then breaks down your enamel, and that's what can lead to cavities, which this is also why it's like when you're a kid and they're like, don't eat too much candy, you're gonna get cavities. Like, that's the science behind that, I guess. But Lumina makes it so that you convert sugar to alcohol instead, but it's a small enough amount of alcohol that allegedly you don't, like, get drunk.
That immediately makes me think that this is a great way to create autobrewery syndrome.
No, that is a thing. I learned about that this morning.
Yeah, like, no, like, because, okay, so autobrewery syndrome is when the bacteria in your guts essentially create alcohol, and congratulations, you've created alcohol in your body. You are feeling its effects. It's not a good thing to have.
Yeah. You don't want to get drunk against your will, you know? But this, as Matt Mullenweg says in his blog post, it's a discovery from the 80s, which this is from Jeffrey Hillman, a professor in the University of Florida's dental school. And apparently he was just, like, studying things in his students' teeth, because...
Wait, I want to pause there.
Yeah, I know.
Studying microorganisms in his grad students' teeth.
I don't know. I mean, is it, like, is this a normal thing that, like, when you're a grad student, you kind of just, like, volunteer to help out with, like, minimally invasive research?
Yes, but it's also, it feels weird that it's teeth. Because imagine your professor coming up. I guess maybe you have a different feeling about this if you were studying dentistry already, but imagine your professor coming up to you and be like, hey, can I swab your teeth?
Yeah, that'd be weird, but I guess...
Right, like, that would feel... That would be
I don't
weird.
know. Dentists are built different, like me. I'm a person with a beautiful mouth. I'm so sorry.
Beautiful. I really want to add that to your bio because I think it's really funny.
I hate myself for bringing this on myself.
You did this.
I did this. I try to be entertaining and then I say terrible things.
Yes, welcome to my world. Okay, so he was studying microorganisms in his grad student's teeth, and did he just find a guy that was like, hello, your teeth are built different. You have a beautiful mouth.
That's pretty much what happened. One student's S. mutans bacteria did some of the things that the genetically modified Lumina thing is doing now, where it just limits how much your tooth decay based on the bacteria that it creates. And I don't know. I think, listen, maybe I'm that guy. I'm built different.
Oh my god. You should ask your dentist if he wants to swab your teeth and send it to Lumina and see if they maybe want to sponsor you or some shit.
Oh my god, that'd be so funny. Imagine if I was a mouth influencer, a mouth biohacking influencer.
A mouth influencer?
Well, I think Matt Mullenweg is a mouth influencer now.
Oh my god.
But okay, so, like, joking aside, where obviously the reason why we are interested in this in the first place is because it's absurd that the CEO of Tumblr is like, let me go modify my mouth bacteria so I don't get cavities, and there's so much more than that. But it is actually, like, if there is something you can put on your teeth once that then minimizes your potential to get cavities for the rest of your lives, like, I'm thinking that could be a useful thing for populations that don't have easy access to dental care. Like, even in the US, we're a population that doesn't have easy access to dental care. Does anybody have easy access to dental care in the world? Like,
the teeth are luxury bones. You know, it's fine. It's normal.
You have to have, like, a 9-to-5 salaried job with dental insurance in order to have access to dental care. I hate it here.
Also, like, if it actually just works, that's, like, it's less cavities and less having to deal with cavities is good. Like, if this turns out to be, like, a free lunch in the sense that it's like, yeah, this procedure has no side effects. This procedure that they're doing in Honduras has no side effects, and you do have better teeth. You now are the owner of a beautiful mouth. Then it's like, yeah, okay, I see the appeal. I no shade other than the shade.
It's not like they're like, let's invent an enzyme that makes it so that your nails are permanently one color and you don't have to paint them, which is like, okay, whatever. Like, this actually could have good impacts on people's lives. So why did nothing happen with this after it was discovered in the 80s? Professor Hellman, the dental guy who was like, let me look in my students' mouths, I guess, because that's what dentists do. He was trying to get FDA approval to create something like what Lumina is now. And the FDA told him that he had to find 100 people ages 18 to 30 with dentures who live alone and far from school zones.
Why?
So I don't know why the live alone. I think the with dentures is maybe like so it doesn't impact their teeth, I guess, because they already don't have teeth. And maybe far from school zones because of the alcohol creation.
Okay, yeah, no, still weird, but okay.
But yeah, basically that's like a really hard sample size to find. So he kind of just dropped it, and then now, decades later, Lantern Bioworks, the company that is making Lumina, is like, hey, if we give you 10% of our profits, can we like use your research? And the guy was like, sure.
This all seems normal except for the parts that are not normal, which is a lot of them.
And it keeps getting there. That's the thing about like all this, like the stuff that we're going to talk about today is one of those things where you can understand how people convince themselves that this is like really important and like a really big deal and something worth like making big sacrifices to do. But then you also then stop thinking like a tech bro for 1 second and you're like, this is kind of weird. So this has been like minimally tested, as we see from Matt Mullenweg is the 50th person to have gotten this done. We don't know a lot about like how it affects people in the long term, which, to be fair, the FDA did make it hard to test this.
Yeah, we could have had this data years ago.
Speaking of the FDA, you know, when you're a biotech startup founder and you're like, ugh, the FDA wants me to be safe, how dare they? Then you're like, what if I go to a different country to do this?
Yeah, sure, I have this experience every week. Go on. This seems normal. But yeah, no, unironically, I feel like this is a thing people do.
Enter Honduras.
Why the Honduras?
So, Honduras, they're not doing the best. It's like about half the population is in poverty. There's been a lot of like government upheaval and violence over the past few decades. Like, they're a country that is poised to pass strange laws in an attempt to like try new things, to try to lift themselves out of their situation.
So basically, countries that are very susceptible to becoming some sort of banana republic. Okay, go on.
Yeah. So in Honduras, there is like a law that makes it legal to create a special economic zone, which is basically just like a parcel of land where you can just make your own rules and not be like part of the government. You can just like do whatever you want.
Oh shit, we created feudalism?
Yeah. It's basically just like, what if the government let you create your libertarian paradise?
Don't love that.
That's basically what happened on an island off the coast of Honduras. Part of it is now Prospera.
That sounds like the name of like some sort of like weird city in a science fiction novel.
Yeah, and of course this special economic zone is managed by a company, which some of its funders include Peter Thiel, Mark Andreessen, Balaji Srinivasan, which these are all like venture capitalists who kind of embody what I believe to be the worst of Silicon Valley culture. Like, they're just very rich dudes who think that the biggest priority in life should be to advance the growth of tech. And it doesn't matter how it impacts normal people, because eventually they believe that the positive impact from the development of technology will outweigh the negatives. And this is why right now when you go to San Francisco, you're like, how come there's a homeless encampment down the street from insert big tech company here?
We love the present that we have created. Yeah, no, this is like... I just feel like the worst parts of tech culture have taken over Silicon Valley. Like the rationalist, accelerationist, like effective altruist space is like not good. No notes. Yeah.
I'm getting away from the mouth biohacking, but like the mouth biohacking happens in Prospera, and I just want to read like an excerpt from a New Republic article about Balaji's vision for Silicon Valley and his like dream that, like, I'm sorry to just be reading articles at you, but I need to.
No, this article is insane, so you should read it.
What I'm really calling for is something like tech Zionism, he said, after comparing his movement to those started by the biblical Abraham, Jesus Christ, Joseph Smith, founder of Mormonism, Theodore Herzl, spiritual father of the State of Israel, and Lee Kuan Yew, former authoritarian ruler of Singapore. Balaji then revealed his shocking ideas for a tech-governed city where citizens loyal to tech companies would form a new political tribe clad in gray t-shirts. Quote, "And if you see another gray on the street, you do the nod," he said during a 4-hour talk on the Moment of Zen podcast. Quote, "You're a fellow gray." The Gray's t-shirts would feature Bitcoin or Elon or some kind of other logos. Y Combinator is a good one for the city of San Francisco in particular. Grays would receive special ID cards providing access to exclusive Gray-controlled sectors of the city. In addition, the Grays would make an alliance with the police department, funding weekly policeman banquets to win them over.
Like, I love it whenever you hear one of these guys talk about their vision for society, because it really reads like someone who read a lot of science fiction novels between the ages of 12 and 16 and never updated their worldview.
I just think the quote, "And if you see another gray on the street, you do the nod. You're a fellow gray," feels like something out of the Rick and Morty copy pasta.
It truly, God. I also think it would be really funny to make shirts that said "a fellow gray" on them.
The Gray's t-shirts would feature... Also, why gray? Like...
It's so boring. No, but I think that's part of the point, right? Because it is, like, the problem with the current, like, Silicon Valley situation, I guess that's actually kind of changing, is that it's a sort of guy who has a uniform, and the uniform is a black t-shirt.
Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about this because in my job this week, I spent a lot of time thinking and talking and eventually writing about Mark Zuckerberg's drip. Because Mark Zuckerberg is, like, hot now, apparently. Because Mark Zuckerberg all of a sudden is wearing, like, gold chains and, like, designer clothing, and he's, like, working out, he's an MMA fighter, and literally 2 years ago, he was, like, posting that weird selfie with the Eiffel Tower in the metaverse, being like, look how cool this is. And Mark Zuckerberg famously used to just wear jeans and a t-shirt every day, the same gray t-shirt that I believe was like a several $100 t-shirt. But like, I always find it really fascinating that the people who think that fashion is something that is frivolous and feminine and like not worth paying attention to are the same people that are curating a uniform for themselves. And like you have to have the Patagonia vest, because what the Patagonia vest conveys is that you're like in the in group in Silicon Valley. And anyway, that's my tangent about how Mark Zuckerberg has drip.
No, but that's like, I feel like that's relevant, right? Because it's like coolness, quote unquote, is part of how a movement is perceived, and therefore Mark Zuckerberg having a drip or wearing a gray t-shirt these are both things that are relevant.
It was so weird. He did a 40th birthday photo shoot that his wife set up, apparently, and it was like scenes from his life.
I saw that. That was so weird.
It's so funny.
That was so weird.
I love it. I think it's so funny. And he was wearing a t-shirt that said, I'm going to butcher the Latin, Carthago est delenda, which means Carthage must be destroyed.
I really enjoyed the one tweet that was like, a quote tweeted with like Marie Antoinette's like play farms.
I don't know what that is.
Okay, so Marie Antoinette's play farm situation. Also, hi, Allison's in my house, so she's just going to explain it because I'm making her.
Hi, Allison.
So Marie Antoinette, prior to the French Revolution, where she was beheaded, had a farm built at Versailles where she would pretend to be a peasant, but we're talking about like the Disneyland version of a farm, where she basically just had some cute animals that she liked to pet sometimes, and she would dress up in like fantasy peasant clothes.
Right, so that feels like what like Mark is doing here.
That's a great analogy, and yes. My favorite part of that also is that Bill Gates was just randomly there.
You know, I feel like Bill Gates has the sort of money where he can just show up wherever. You're kind of like, yeah, okay, I guess Bill Gates is here. That's fine, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't realize that Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates were friends, because I don't know, I guess it just kind of feels like an unlikely combination, but...
No, wait, I think that actually makes sense. Like, I have nothing to base this on, to be clear. But based on my own experience entering subgroups / becoming extremely specialized in a field, or like becoming popular within that field, everyone starts to know each other.
Yeah.
And if you're like a tech billionaire, first of all, you're A, new money, B, you're kind of weird. So you're probably going to hang out with other tech billionaires, and this is how you end up with the situation where someone wants to create, when Balaji wants to create the Greys.
I just, like, this isn't from the 40th birthday party, but the Zuckerbergs went to a wedding in India of some, like, really rich person. I don't remember what it was, but, like high-profile Indian wedding. And on one of the days of the weddings, there's, like, all the different days of festivities and whatnot, Mark Zuckerberg was wearing this, like, organza shirt with, like, beading that had, like, a tiger and flowers on it. And I looked it up, and on the website of the designer, Raul Mishra, who is one of the top designers in India, the shirt was listed as request price. And
God damn.
Then there's a picture of Mark wearing that, and he's standing next to Bill Gates, who is wearing khaki pants, a dark green polo shirt, and a black blazer.
Man...
Like,
you know, I just thought about this now, but it's like, it kind of sucks that we're talking about these people.
Oh, no, yeah, it sucks, but I just think it was very funny that Bill Gates's outfit would have been permissible under my elementary school's dress code.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, back to mouth biohacking. So,
yes.
Basically, these are the kinds of people, not Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates, but Mark Andreessen, Balaji, Peter Thiel, who are funding the Prospera City, which is just... what if you just went to an island in Honduras where people live and turned part of that island into your little village where, like, the legal tender is Bitcoin and, like, the kids go to school and their school is just Khan Academy videos, which I would clown on that, except is that actually just the American publication system right now?
Oof.
Who among us has not learned pre-calc from Khan Academy exclusively?
I didn't do that, but I'm also guillotinable, so...
Yeah, well, you didn't go to public high school, so...
Oh, wait, no, but I have a good joke about that, which I probably brought up, because pre-calc at my high school was called analysis for some reason. What does that abbreviate to? That's right, anal.
Hell yeah.
Did everyone just put that in their calendars? Yes.
So, we're in Honduras. This is where Lantern Bio works, the creator of Lumina, the thing that you, like, put on your teeth to not have cavities anymore, is located, and they can do this for, like, it's pretty inexpensive. It's like getting a teeth cleaning, but with a specific kind of thing you're putting in your mouth. Like, it's like a fluoride, I guess. Like, not a fluoride, but, like, conceptually a fluoride.
It's basically, they basically paint it on your teeth, right? Like, because I did see, like... These are also the sort of people who will tweet their medical procedures, so I did read some of the tweet threads of people describing how it happened and immediate after effects.
Yeah, so right now, including having to get to Honduras, the procedure itself costs $500. They're apparently planning to make it like $200 in the future. I don't know. Yeah, you go to Honduras and you have your mouth done, but... What's also interesting here is that the people that are writing about this, the people that are having this done, and the people at Lantern Bioworks are mostly rationalists. And Isabel, what's rationalists?
Oh, Christ. Okay, so, the context behind this is that rationalists are... The way that I would describe them in 2024 is that they're kind of a sphere of... philosophical thought that has a very strong hold in certain sectors of Silicon Valley and associated industries. I talk a lot of shit about rationalists, but their core view does really seem to be, can we, like, rationalize our way out of problems?
Yes. As illustrated in Eliezer Yudkowsky's Harry Potter and the Methods of Rationality, an extremely long Harry Potter fanfic, of which I have read all, that, I don't know why I phrased it that way, and which just has Harry Potter being like, how do I kill Voldemort with rationalism?
Yes, which is like, no, like, honestly, we do need to talk about HPMOR because...
My favorite topic.
It's weirdly a key point here, but okay, so their description of rationality from their website on Less Wrong, incidentally, Less Wrong was started by Yudkowsky of HPMOR fame, and basically that they quote the Wikipedia article first that says that rationality is this quality of state of being reasonable, based on facts or reason. And then they say that we could also say that it's a quality of thinking well, or that an agent is rational if it wields its intelligence in such a way as to maximize a convergence between its beliefs and reality, and act on these beliefs in such a manner as to maximize its chances of achieving whatever goals it has. So at their core, rationalists are very much like, how do we think so good that we're right? That being said, what I've noticed over time, I think rationalists are also human, and they are both the sort of people that will write long posts on the internet. They are also the sort of people who are subject to cognitive biases, and also I've noticed in a lot of cases that effective altruism, which is sort of an offshoot of rationality, and also rationalists kind of like, they end up almost just justifying whatever belief they want to have while feeling good about themselves because they've been rational about it. I'm saying this pretty neutrally because I do the same thing with pretty much everything I believe. But where I think rationalists get wrong is that they assume that the world makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think that fundamental misconception, or like that the world can be understood, and I do think that's a fundamental misconception of the way the universe works. Again, I think I'm saying this, and if any rationalists listen to us right now, they are probably going to send us a long email. I don't care. I've been reading Astral Codex 10 and its predecessor, Slate Star Codex, since I was 16. That warps a guy, and I am immune to everything that they can throw against me because I don't care.
Meanwhile, I just read HPMOR while I had food poisoning, which I have talked about at length on the internet for some reason.
Yeah, again, that's like, that's more sane than what I've been doing, because I wouldn't call myself a rationalist, but I do think that they're interesting. Highlights of my experience with rationalists include when my short story got posted in their Reddit, and there were many posts, and somebody was like, it's good to kill children. And then everyone else was like, wait, no, stop that. I just have to bring that up at every point because Jesus fucking Christ.
It's so funny, but I do think that is sort of indicative of, like, the whole thing with rationalism and effective altruism is that, like, by definition, these things aren't bad. Like, there's nothing wrong with trying to use reason to think through a problem or trying to figure out, like, on a very micro level, like, if you find $100 on the street and you're like, maybe I'll donate this $100, like, you probably will be thinking, like, what is the most effective way I can donate this? Like, will my $100 go further at, like, local food bank or, like, the Red Cross, which gets, like, a lot of donations already, and $100 doesn't really move the needle.
Yeah. Like, the other thing is, so effective altruism is also, like, I wouldn't call it, like, a key component of the rationalist movement, but it is very closely associated, where it's basically, their stated beliefs are what Amanda just said. In practice, I've noticed that a lot of the time, effective altruists are like, yeah, the nerd shit that we're doing is the correct thing to be doing. Yeah. It's like, guys, I think you just want to do the nerd shit, and that's fine.
I think it's similar to the phenomenon in which I am a diehard radio fan. I genuinely believe that Radiohead is one of the best bands to have ever done it. Do I think that other diehard radio fans who think that Radiohead is the best band to have ever done it are really annoying? Yes.
Yes.
That's effective altruism somehow.
Emotionally, spiritually, maybe. But, like, that being said, I actually think that at its core, I respect these guys for actually living their beliefs, if that makes sense. Because I think it's really easy to do nothing in the world. And even trying to do something, even if it is perhaps to the left of what makes sense, or trying to make sense of the world, I actually kind of respect. Unfortunately, I am also not immune to slightly being Slate Star Codex pilled. Man, I don't know, like, when you're 15, this kind of makes sense, and then later you're kind of like, this guy just writes a lot of words. Do I check in on him, like, every couple of weeks? Do I go look at the open threads on Astral Codex 10 and then contemplate joining... Okay, this is kind of an aside, but I think it's a funny aside, so I'm gonna still do it. The other context that we talked about rationalists, I think like a couple of years ago, was like in the practice of like date me docs. And there's an open thread on Astral Codex 10, which is, the context here is that Astral Codex 10 and Slate Star Codex, which was its predecessor, are very influential rationalist blogs run by this guy, Scott Alexander. That's a pseudonym for his actual name, Scott Siskind. He's a psychiatrist. He seems like a good guy with good intentions who loves to write long essays. This is obviously a sin.
No one should write long things, says Isabel, who recently got a 7-figure 3-book deal.
That is also a sin. But basically, one of these threads is usually like an open thread every few weeks. And in one of the recent ones, because I look at these, because I don't know, I'm already going to hell for the 7-figure book deal. Basically, someone was like, here's my like rationalist dating Discord, and here's a link to it. No. And I really, really wanted to join it to see what's going on, to talk about it for the podcast. No, I just wanted to join to see what's going on. I've been bothering people about this for like a week and a half, being like, should I join this? And then the answer being a resounding no.
Well, you should because of the content.
Well, then I thought about this and I did almost join it, and then I realized that I actually would be using other people's dating lives as fodder for my podcast, which felt a little creepy because these guys are actually earnestly trying to find love.
Yeah.
Although, would you like to hear the most insane like dating me pitch on this thread? Because people will post these on a thread, and I feel like this one's insane enough that I don't feel bad reading it. I want to homeschool or Stanford Online High School our summer-born children until they go to the University of Cambridge while living with us. I'm 25 and prefer dating 18 to 30 and mating with 22 to 30-year-old females with a strong background in mathematics competitions, parentheses, William Lowell Putnam Competition Top 100, United States of America Mathematical Olympiad Top 24, Code Forces above or equal to 2100, United States of America Mathematical Talent Search above 70, career pre-tax aggregate income over $3 million. What? Graduate record examination general 340 plus 6.0 or quote unquote scholastic aptitude test 1600 and paren. Must be monogamous. Eventually agree to head shaving. Kiss my neck often. And use zero hormonal contraception, parentheses, or history of usage. Alcohol, cocaine, opioids, psychedelics, amphetamine, marijuana, fragrances, and body products. Email me at email to schedule a date.
I don't want to even... I don't think we need to say anything about that. I think it speaks for itself, and we just don't need to address it.
That's all I got. I will say this is not representative of all of the dating comments on here, and most of the people in this thread are dunking on them and trying to figure out whether it's a troll or not. It does not seem to be a troll, because you can find that guy if you Google them.
Well, I should email him, because, you know.
Oh my god.
No.
Because you fit in all those categories, right? And you have a beautiful mouth.
I think the only one of those categories that I fit is being a female between the ages of 22 and 30. Imagine you go on a date with someone and they're like, sorry, you didn't get a 1600 on the SAT, so, you know.
But, like, you can kind of see how people, like, within the subculture also include the people who hack their mouth, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. I think just what I have to say about this is, like, I am very fascinated by why these communities in particular, like, online intellectuals, venture capitalists, tech startup people are the people that, like, they're always the circle in the Venn diagram of the people who would biohack their mouth.
This is an insane Venn diagram. Sorry, go on.
No, but, like, it's real. I have a point. But I also was like, why is biohacking so popular in Silicon Valley? And I think the obvious answer is productivity maxing. Like, it's the same reason why people were like, what if we just drank Soylent for every meal so that we don't have to think about eating? Or, like, what if we made food into squares and just ate our little squares? Like, people are like, I need to do whatever I can to just sustain my body and maximize my ability to be productive. And I think one of the most stark examples of this is our boy Brian Johnson. I love how he has the most generic name, but he's just a rich guy who made a lot of money as the founder of Braintree, which it acquired Venmo and then was acquired by PayPal for $800 million in cash. And of course, the only natural thing to do after doing that is to spend $2 million a year to prevent yourself from aging. So this is the guy who took his teenage son's blood and put it into his body, and then he took his own blood and put it into his father's body and described it as like an intergenerational blood exchange or something.
Wait, why didn't he just put his son's blood in his father's body?
That's a great question. That's a great question.
I'm just saying, it seems like there's an extra middleman here that you didn't need to have.
Yeah. Another, like, part of this phenomenon that I wanted to talk about is the enhanced games. Do you know about the enhanced games?
No.
It is, what if the Olympics, but you are allowed to take whatever performance-enhancing drugs you want?
Oh, that's good, actually. I think that's funny.
But so, again, it's like the same people where Balaji and Peter Thiel are two of the funders, and the president is Aaron D'Souza, who was one of the lawyers behind Thiel's, like, legal attacks on Gawker that led to Gawker eventually folding. So it's like, these are the boys. But I don't know. I guess I listened to an interview with Aaron D'Souza, and he has some points. I do agree with his points of, like, so the premise is basically that this is an alternative to the Olympics, and he's like, down with the Olympics, up with the enhanced games. And he criticizes the Olympics for both being really expensive by just creating a bunch of stadiums and then immediately getting rid of them, and how that's just kind of like, what are we doing? It doesn't make any sense. And also how, unless if you're in like a really big sport like gymnastics or like swimming or something, most Olympic athletes are living like not super lucrative lives. A lot of athletes are making like $30,000 to $40,000 a year, which is like, you can live on that. But if you're like an Olympic medalist and you're kind of making the same salary as like a guy who works at Starbucks, it's kind of,
It feels shitty.
yeah. So he basically is like, I want to pay athletes. I want to do the Olympics in a more sustainable way. And I'm like, cool, sure, fine. But then he's like, and then we let them do whatever drugs that they want.
I kind of like that, though, because I think it's very funny. Because I do kind of want to see what the outside edge of human potential is when it is chemically enhanced. I am sure that somebody will die from this, and I will feel very bad about the statement later.
Yeah, I'm like, they claim that the whole thing is like, oh, they're gonna like have doctors that supervise what people are doing and whatever. But I don't know. I guess I'm just a prude, and I think that maybe people shouldn't be taking a fuck ton of steroids.
Yeah, that's a really valid statement. Would you say that's better or worse than mouth biohacking?
I think worse, because the mouth biohacking, like, we don't really know a lot about the long-term effects yet, but I don't know. So far, it seems like it hasn't really had any, like, major impacts, at least on the people that have talked about it openly. Like, Matt Mullenweg, our boy, back to Matt Mullenweg, noted person who goes on sabbatical and then randomly harasses trans people on Tumblr. Google it. He said in his blog post that he hasn't really noticed anything different except that he doesn't have morning breath that badly.
I think the most likely outcome of this is that it doesn't really work.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It just feels like it's one of those things. I have no basis for saying this, but it feels too easy.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just feel like I don't really know enough about, like, how science works to say anything. Like, I would say, hey, it can't be possible that you could, like, remove someone's knee and put a metal thing in there to be their new knee, but that happens.
Yeah, we replace organs and shit. This is, just, replacing microorganisms. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, like, it kind of feels to me that, like, I'm genuinely curious to see where this goes, because if it works and it's like a free lunch, that's cool, It would be a cool technology to have work, and it is actually kind of interesting to see people doing it and going around the FDA's insane list of requirements for the testing. Like, not to knock the FDA. I think the FDA is usually probably right. Probably. Don't quote me anymore.
I'm more inclined to trust the FDA than to trust, like, random venture capitalists who are doing a weird techno-colonialism in Honduras.
I think the reason I feel a little better about this is the fact that they're just doing it to themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, like, you have to give them credit in that way where, like, the first person who had this done was, like, one of the people at the company. And I guess if you're gonna try to do a new, weird, untested medical thing, doing it on yourself first is the least you can do. I don't know. But I also think we do have to give the FDA some shit because they are really bad at the internet. And they did release a warning against NyQuil chicken, which was a quote-unquote TikTok trend that no one on TikTok was actually doing.
Oh my god. Alright, on that note, if you liked this episode, tell a friend. Word of mouth is how we grow. Thank you to all of our patrons, and shout out specifically to Zoe, Bray, Andromeda, Thea, Brian, Gabriel, Lada, Matt, Max, my sugar daddy Sam, Jock, and Aaron's husband. If you want our name in the above or in our Twitter header, slide right into our Patreon at patreon.com/wowoftrue. Shout out to audio editors Allison Mills and David Newtown, graphic designer and Canva Warlock, Eric Silver, who made our logo, Sam Reiser, who made our podcast music, and Tessa Farah, who is transcribing our episodes. You can find us on Twitter as @wowofTruePod and Instagram and Facebook as @wowoftrue. Had your 15 seconds of internet fame? Slide right into our Twitter DMs and tell us about it. And until next time, let's get weird on the internet.